Gods and goddesses in training, welcome back to the channel. It is Uncle Makara. All relations, welcome back. It is so good to be back here with you guys, man. And today, of course, we have another exposure, another level of exposure, okay, where we start to understand what's really going on underneath the surface with David Deida, okay? Now, side note, before I begin this rant, I just want to say, read the disclaimer, okay? Read the disclaimer. If anybody from David Data's team sees this, broski, I have very good intentions for you, okay? I want to see you grow. I want to see you expand. And honestly, some of these are really cool concepts, you know? In the book itself, The Way of the Superior Man has helped me during the time that I had started my masculine development journey, you know? The concepts like, live as if your father is no more, or living at your edge, you're being challenged. All these things I probably needed to hear. However, what's the deal with David Data? Huh? I know the way of the superior man is like the Bible for a lot of spiritual bros, right? It's got purpose, polarity, and plenty of talk about holding the feminine storm. And hey, it's helped a lot of men level up. But let's keep it real. It's not perfect. There's no through line, right? Even spiritually inclined audiences may struggle to grasp what the point is, other than vague vibes about embodiments and polarity. Now, I love polarity work and understanding the dynamics of masculine and feminine. However, at the same time, there's something very off about this protocol. Okay, does anybody else notice this? So let me just share this with the tribe. All right. Forwarding it to adepts too, so they can tap in. Primal Sutra Mystery School.com, man. Tap in. 1 second, guys. I have to change some settings around here. Thank you for your patience. Osa. All right. Sweet. Okay. So, without further ado, let's get started. Let's get started. Okay. So, what's the deal with David Data, right? You can't just sprinkle sacred sounding words together and hope that it makes sense, right? Because then it starts to feel like an aesthetic mysticism instead of an actual coherent embodied teaching. Okay. So when he says things like the feminine has no motive towards peace or spaciousness, women don't write things down, they pass things on orally. Okay. These are sweeping generalizations that he's making, guys. Are we getting this? These are archetypal generalizations being treated like universal truths. And sure, it sounds poetic. That's not psychologically or culturally grounded, because he's constantly flipping between this is serious yogic insight and this is just art. Don't take it seriously, which creates this strange, emotionally distant, non-committal vibe about it. I don't know if you guys feel the same. Okay, I'm just speaking my truth. And A lot of people, when they critique this book, you know, they're saying things like the superior man doesn't mean being superior to others, right? The translation, they're just saying, please don't cancel it. Okay. But what is the way of the superior man, right? Evolved man, the evolved man. It's not a stream of confused consciousness. Okay. So let's start with what is. David isn't offering you tools. He's offering you a tantric kind of improv, right? So every sentence is a swirl of effulgence, conscious light, and the art of beingness as vibration. But not one actual person walks away knowing what the hell they want to do with their partners. Okay? So you can't just build a relationship with metaphors, Dave, right? Hold on one second for my work calling. All right. Anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I'm already in the rabbit hole, so we might as well just come out of the other side. Okay, Bazinga. Okay, you can't build a relationship with metaphors, Dave. Try eye contact in a conversation. We get it. You read the Tao Te Ching and added generals to it, right? But in 2025, this black and white framework, it sounds like spiritual astrology for people who skip there. Effulgence, transmit consciousness through the pelvic diaphragm, channel your central conductivity. Look, if I need a decoder ring and a chakra map just to make out with somebody, maybe we've overcomplicated things here. Maybe we've overcomplicated love, right? What could have been just breathe, be present, open your heart, breathe deeply, just relax the front-facing energetic tendrils of your witness-pervaded solar plexic aperture. What good is a philosophy without practical application, says Eugene. Word up, right? So there was this one woman in the audience that asked him, how does this model help someone evolve, David? Right? Like Tammy, who's like a woman from the audience yelling at him. And he says, well, if you imagine you're a silent Buddha sitting across from a flaming tornado starlight while she moans cosmic awareness through her hips. Dude, just say it helps you balance your energy, express authentically, and understand your partner's vibe. Why do you have to use this language, this flowery language, to put us into a hypnotic trance? Right? He says sexual yoga is not sexual therapy, is not spiritual practice. Yeah, and water ain't coffee, and coffee ain't kombucha. Doesn't mean you got to read me the instruction manual for each molecule, bruv. Right? If you're trying to figure out how masculine and feminine are, that's therapy. He said, yo, someone tell this man half of TikTok is stuck in that loop, right? While eating raw liver, right? Raw milk, and watching Andrew Tate videos on me. Okay. So he's using mysticism to obscure rather than reveal, right? Hey there, babe. Love is simple, but humans complicated. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. That's the truth. Okay. It evokes spiritual resonance, but he offers no map, no method, no integration. And it becomes a spiritual performance art, right? Masquerading as wisdom. It's masculine theater, right? Let me do all of the things that a man should be able to do, and then therefore I will feel validated for my own masculine awareness. What are you doing? Okay. So he keeps saying things like, this isn't for therapy, this isn't for healing, and this isn't for everyone. Well, okay, then what is it for then? Right? Is it just a poetic philosophy of archetypes or an actual system of growth? But okay, let's not act like the instruction manual is for like divine union, because His model is less like a map and more like a mystical dance, right? Narrated by a man high on his own metaphors. And it sounds really divine and cool at times. But try applying it to a real relationship where your partner just wants to be seen and heard, right? Not decoded like a dream journal. She said this at 5:47. She twitched her eye in this moment. The superior man doesn't need a cosmic polarity to love deeply. He just needs presence, clarity, and enough emotional intelligence to not weaponize holding space as a personality. I really liked David's way of describing the three stages of masculinity and how, in this third stage, you could be this compassionate and very caring guy, but at the same time, not sacrifice your spine or your balls, right? And he taught men about being rational, being studied, factual, um, and having honor, while he described women more so as ill-behaved children. But ladies, let me ask you this: are all feminine feelings felt in a feminine feeling wave, right? He said he's almost treating women like a goldfish, right? That they only exist in the eternal present with no fixed past and no conception of the future. And how many times he uses words like conscious light and bloom in fullness is unquestioned, right? Is unbelievable, is impossible. Okay. A man who has to speak and use words like blooming in fullness, I don't know what that means, bro. What does blooming in fullness even mean? Is my heart space expanding so much that I feel this like, expansiveness? Like what really is going on there, right? So here's where it gets a little bit, 2003-ish. These days, I think his teachings hold a very interesting perspective and they can be useful, but I would take them with a grain of salt, right? And think of them as a single perspective among many perspectives rather than some sort of deep truth about masculinity and reality. Okay. I would feel like a failure because I wasn't clear on my purpose, or, I was putting something else before my purpose, or I didn't have full control over ejaculating, or I didn't feel like I could stay solid and open no matter what life threw at me from living in this mindset under David Deida. So David splits the world into masculine, which is mission, and feminine, that is emotion. But wait a minute, aren't men also meant to feel into their emotions? And don't women also have a mission, right? Cool in theory, but today people are just vibing their way beyond the binary. And people are a little bit fluid, right? A little bit fierce, a little bit freaky, a little bit weird, right? So labeling too hard can make people feel boxed in, right? Or they're failing at being masculine. Okay. Now look, purpose over people though, right? This book low key suggests that a guy should always pick his life mission over his woman, right? Ellie, you remember the time when I reacted in that way? That was through a David Deida wound within me, okay? My girl is watching right now. Masculine energy is grounded like an oak tree and is unmoved by feminine stillness. Right. And labeling it can make you feel boxed in, right? So if you ghost your girl for the grind, don't be shocked if she evolves without you. Okay. Emotional intimacy is part of the mission. So David is pointing out that women are on wild weather patterns and men are these sturdy mountain ravens. But bro, have you ever seen a man offer his after his crypto drops? Okay. Emotional chaos is not gender specific. Okay. Emotions are not just a feminine thing. All right. And superior sounds like a big red flag because the title alone makes someone, a guy, who would shout on a podcast between sets of cold plunges and Joe Rogan quotes. Superior doesn't mean better. It just means more present, more authentic, more in flow, perhaps. And yeah, it can attract dudes who just want to be spiritual alphas instead of actual human beings. So it's not exactly trauma informed, okay? And if you've got childhood wounds or nervous system stuff, I mean, who doesn't, right? His book can make you feel like you're trying to run a marathon on a sprained ankle, right? Without emotional healing, his advice just becomes another mask, right? Just like a spiritual Chad. So sometimes it feels like a vibe from another era, right? Like a MySpace era. It doesn't always account for modern relationships for people who want to live in polarity all day. The dating world has evolved, but the book is still stuck in that mode, right? And it's a very healthy understanding that you are the container and you help the feminine tsunami, to thrive. Absolutely. Okay. But look, it can be highly misinterpreted, is what I mean. Okay, and I've shared this with countless of my students, right? This book. But I've also explained to them, take it with a grain of salt. Don't get so wrapped up in it, right? Because Tantra and deep intimacy, yes, but David sometimes romanticizes intensity and overlooks the need for consent, nervous system co-regulation, healthy boundaries. I mean, not every woman wants to be ravished by the masculine blade of truth, bro. Sometimes she just wants Thai food and emotional safety. My relationship with God is number one. Mm. My health is number two. Mission is number three. Women number four. Nice, Joe. I like that. I like that framework. Way better. God first. Yeah. Really cool. So the bottom line is read the book, enjoy the mythic metaphors, right? But don't take it as gospel, right? Add your own levels of therapy, nervous system work, coaching, actual communication, consent culture. Then you've got something truly superior, right? Because he talks about finding the gift and giving it to the world, right? What exactly is that? What does that mean? He doesn't go into that, right? And it's not about having the fattest bank account, but being, purpose driven. I like that too, right? And the only way to find out what it is you want to do is to try a lot of things, he says, right? And once you find it, you'll know. So listen, Primal Sutra doesn't just out evolve David Data. We chakra shift past him. While he's stuck trying to decode whether her moody storm is a test or a tantric initiation, we just say engage your matrix with your mythos, your frequency, your fifth dimensional finesse. Not penetrate her with your presence. Most good men today are stuck like NPCs, low status, very overworked, underpaid, constantly seeking approval from women, bosses, and society, right? They've been brainwashed to believe that working hard and being nice will earn them respect, love, and success. Okay? But it doesn't. And men get confused when David Data is saying just ravish her, right? Make love like a Picasso painting. Messy, unhinged, and a little bit abusive, he said in one of his lectures, right? Like, bro, calm it down. Okay? Reality is subjective. Control the narrative. Elevate your status. People will treat you like you are divine. But if you don't, you can remain very powerless, right? So originally, what it meant to hold space was, being fully present with someone without judgment, listening with compassion, not fixing or advising them, providing a container for others to feel, to emote, to process safely. Okay. And in its pure form, this is quite beautiful, right? This is what a shaman's medicine men or women, as therapists or counselors or good friends do naturally. They do this naturally, right? But here's where it gets weird. So in the modern spiritual communities, holding space has become a badge of moral superiority. I'm not reactive, I hold space, right? It's a performance of passivity. I'll just sit here with my open heart while the world burns around me. Okay? It's making men docile, I think, right? A way to spiritually bypass. I won't confront the issue. I'm just holding space for the issue. Come on, bro, right? What are we saying here? Right? It's a license to avoid action. We don't need to set boundaries or change anything at all. Let's just hold more space. Data deserves credit for being a pioneer early in the process of understanding masculinity. He was a pioneer, absolutely. And that's why in the beginning of this show, I actually shouted him out. I said, there's great things about it, and he deserves the credit, for the work that he's done. Absolutely. But it can create like a spiritualized freeze response where people confuse dissociation with depth, right? And I'm just trying to clear out the gunk so people don't misunderstand this book. They think they're just being Zen but they're actually being emotionally avoided. And worse, it can actually enable dysfunction, right? Letting harmful patterns slide in the name of non-judgmental presence. So the savage truth is this, that holding space isn't healing if it enables stagnation. Presence is only powerful when it's paired with purpose. So sometimes what people need is not more space, but a mirror, a boundary, a surgical truth bomb, a wisdom tsunami, right? You're not out here holding space like a fucking Airbnb for people's emotional garbage. Clean your altar, speak your truth, or don't call it sacred. You see a lot of people around here, especially the high vibes only crowd, okay? The love and light folks, using half digested Sanskrit words like seasoning on their spiritual ramen, okay? Sprinkling some words, and let me just use the word karma. Chakra sounds nice. Well, maybe just put a little bit of Shiva Chakra, the word quantum in here. Maybe, maybe I'll chant a mispronounced Om over $20 crystal. And then suddenly there are tantric priestess on a Zoom call in Topanga. But here's the cosmic joke. Indian spiritual systems weren't made for you to empower your brand. They were made to burn your identity to ash and dance in the cremation ground of your ego. So how does the confusion happen? Listen, if everything happens for a reason, then karma means action with consequences across timelines, not a get out of responsibility free card, not a passive shrug when you're too scared to set boundaries. Okay? They turned an ancient psycho-spiritual map into spa menu aesthetics. Get grounded. I'm so intuitive, I ghost my landlord. Okay? Okay. So real chakras are actually spiritual engines, right? They're tied to specific tantric deities, elemental forces, shadow wounds, liberation pathways. But he doesn't, want to mention that stuff. This is about relationship. This is not a vibe checklist. So Dharma is not do what you love. They say follow your Dharma as if it's a mood ring. Real Dharma often goes against your own comfort. It's the cosmic duty you bleed for, not the thing you're temporarily passionate about, after one ayahuasca trip you did or something, right? And Shiva isn't like a peace sign bro with a man bun, right? He's a destroyer of delusion, not a chill guru who lets you spiritually bypass all the time. Shiva ends illusions, right? And if you met the real Shiva, he'll tear you apart with your Instagram persona before he ever blesses your soul purpose, right? So the truth is, and I'm very passionate about this. That's why I'm speaking like this, guys. Right? I'm very passionate about this topic. So they took sacred fire and sold it as scented candles, right? And the real Indian systems were never meant for self-help. They were meant for self-transcendence. They don't exist to make you feel good. They exist to make you real. And the reason people get confused is because, you know, in the West, there's a craving of simplicity and minimalism. While Indian traditions constantly, you will notice, they embrace surrender, paradox, multidimensional frameworks, you know, and that requires not just digestion, but devotion. So stop saying I'm spiritual, not religious, while name dropping Kali like she's your therapist. Stop using Sanskrit to sound deep when you haven't even sat with your own shadow. Don't chant Shanti, Shanti if you're afraid of silence, right? Don't say namaste if you don't even know what you're bowing to. If you really want to honor the Indian wisdom, then stop appropriating and start applying, man. Not with filters, but with fear, with fire, not with fear. No. And I also peeped David's billing behavior. Apparently, a couple of his old clients, like, they're talking about unauthorized charges. Maybe it's not him, maybe it's like his administration or whatever, right? Like free due date ramrodding, admin replies sound like they're written by a spiritual intern, tripping on cacao. And maybe it is David, behind the email curtain, sure, pulling the strings. But if so, that's wild, bro, right? Because how are you going to preach third stage man while you're running your back end like a passive aggressive trickster spirit? It honestly starts feeling like he's testing his male clients the way that women test men, right? And this isn't divine masculine, right? So let's talk about, his body, okay? Now, I got no problem with a man owning his femininity, right? Shakti flows where she wants. But what irks the thunderbolt within me is when someone teaches embodied masculinity while quietly dressing up their unclaimed feminine as divine leadership, right? That's not third stage, man. Yo, Ryan G, what's good? The Primal Sutra transcends David Deida. Yes, Joe, thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate it, brother. It's third eye eyeliner with a beard, right? So it makes me wonder if a man is truly rooted in a masculine essence by soul, by spine, by upbringing, would he behave like that? Would he charge prematurely, dodge accountability, and beta test boundaries like a coy enchantress in the Temple of Fees? All I'm saying is sometimes the map is drawn to cover the territory, right? And David Data's map might just be hiding the fact that he's never left the terrain of his own inner maiden. So most of these spiritual people are window shopping for God, right? You've got people looking for spirit in kombucha bottles and Bali rice fields and overpriced breathwork retreats with cacao queens named Starseed Luna, right? Others are doing dopamine fueled dopamine detoxes, meditating like it's a competitive sport while chasing the same high, just wearing mala beads. So you think you're the one on the path just because your Spotify says 432 hertz and your sage smells nice? No. Spirit isn't going to meet you at the Whole Foods juice aisle, okay? Everyone wants enlightenment without ego jet, healing without humility, power without purification. And yes, some seek spirit through science, trying to measure soul with a microscope. Some seek it through sex, mistaking chemistry for cosmic union. Some seek it through psychedelics, right? Cracking open the sky just to run back into their trauma faster than they came out. It's all grasping. We're all grasping, right? You can chant, you can float, you can stretch, you can microdose, and positive vibe your way into oblivion. But until you sit still in the abyss, until you face the part of you that no filter can fix, until you can laugh in the face of your own shadow, spirit will hide. Because spirit is not a trend. It's not an accessory to your self-image. It's the part of you that survived after all the masks died. So here's the raw truth, uncut. You don't find spirit, you stop running from it. And when you do, she doesn't just whisper, she roars. She roars. Okay. I'm going to answer a previous question about someone who's asking how to, can you even receive what you're asking for in terms of like calling upon your guides and so forth? Yeah, you can call forth, allies, daimons, devas, ancestors, tricksters, titans, timeless teachers. But here's the catch. Can you receive what you're asking? You see, the limitation isn't the grimoire on the lid. It's the size of your desire and the elasticity of your container. So desire is the first drumbeat of the cosmos. Before there was form, there was a longing. Before there was language, there was an ache to know, right? Not to achieve, not to get paid, not to impress the occult TikTok people, okay? But this is what you need in terms of voltage in your desire. So here's what I found. You don't need permission to talk to spirit. You need enough emptiness in your ego to catch in that karma. You see, some of you are still calling in angels with an attitude of an atheist. You're running invocations like it's a skeptical science fair project. When you wonder why did my guides not show up? It's not the technique, it's the frequency. It's the capacity to receive, which means being pierced by the unknown, by surrendering your grip on what should happen and opening yourself up to what wants to happen. And that's when prophets are laughed at in their hometowns, right? People remember you as the boy who stuttered, not the man who channeled stars. So take this as a scroll from Uncle Makara from the higher realms. Your desires you want, your openness is your altar. So don't worry about which gene is correct or whatever. Worry about whether your inner temple has enough space to house a miracle. We are in Miracle May. It's day 11. It's Portal Day. Okay. We're doing ACIM and we're on day 11. Okay. We're tapped in. So we got to not worry about these little petty things that are going on around us, right? We have to get really clear on what this wild road of spirituality even is. Is it crafting sigils? Is it, making servitors? Is it breathing power into names older than time? Okay. And what exactly is it? We're still figuring that out. We are Primal Sutra, the laughing thunderbolt in your dreamscape. Remember, don't just believe in mysticism, become the mystic. Become the mystic student. Don't just summon, let spirit summon you. And as always, stay dangerous, stay devotional, and stay divine. We got this, you got this. Upward spiral gang. May we never be the same again. May the flow be with you. I'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you so much for tapping in, guys. This has been a great deep dive, a great lecture. David, forgive me for going off on you, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for paving the way for men, but now we got to do it differently. We got to transcend. We got to move forward. We got to do things in a way that truly combines the priestess or the priestess such a way where our id and our shadows get transmuted, get integrated well. Finally, align towards our greatest potential and truth. SLW, what's good? Just ending it now, brother. Watch the replay. Let's get it. Upward Spiral Gang, may we never be the same. Let's go. Peace and love and prosperity. Let's get it.